The Jets. The Jets. The New York Football Jets. That could just be the entire team preview, couldn't it? Why not? I don't know how they thought 2019 was going to go. Like, how did you think this whole operation was going to go? You make the big move to sign Le'Veon Bell. You're getting a running back who's a bit of a head case, who, oh, by the way, sat out an entire season. Yeah, on the one hand, saves some mileage on his body, but on the other hand, he's coming to a vastly inferior situation. He hasn't played in a year. Wonder how that's going to go. How'd you enjoy that 3.2 yards per carry from Le'Veon? Ooh. What a great situation to put your young face of the franchise quarterback in with Sam Darnold. Did you enjoy not having any 1,000-yard receivers? Yeah, you wouldn't want him to have any skill guys outside of Robbie Anderson. Why would you do that? You might actually have to pay him at some point. You knew 2019 was going to be bad. A lot of people probably thought once Sam I almost called Sam Bradford. I don't want to put that X on. But Sam Darnold got that case of the mono, and he missed a few games. Your quarterback gets mono. That's where you knew that it was not going to go well. At least that's what a lot of you thought. But the reality is, you should have known how this was going to go once they made the decision to hire who they hired to be their next head football coach. You just recently saw the Bills a few years back do this. You fired Rex Ryan. The Bills said, gotta have him. 2 seasons later, gone. Why would you immediately want to hire somebody else's fired head coach from within the same division? That makes absolutely no dang sense whatsoever. Unless you're the Jets. In that case, hiring Adam Gase, who did very little to nothing, who's been more hype than reality, certainly as a coordinator and a coach in the NFL, makes all the sense in the world. Ignore any thoughts of how he kind of ostracized players and his offenses weren't all that impressive. He didn't really do great things with quarterbacks. Like, go on and on and on and on about Adam Gase. But the Jets thought that he was going to be a good hire. They had to know from Jump Street that they were going to suck in 2019. And the 0-4 start, the 2-7 record before the bye, was just kind of validation. They're a bit of a mess with Adam Gase as their head coach. The hell you say? The hell you say? And they actually had a decent defense. It still didn't matter. They had a decent defense while getting very little out of third overall pick Quentin Williams. But the offense was pathetic. Adam Gase is a tool. And maybe more of you will realize that this year. I don't really know, and I don't know that I really care. But you could say, well, they finished a little bit better at the end of the year. Well, who cares? They're the Jets. I mean, they went out there and they said, we got to help our young franchise quarterback, Sam Darnold. We're going to bring a bunch of help in free agency to beef off that offense. We're going to sign guys like Breshad Perriman while letting Robbie Anderson walk. That'll get the job done. You're going to sign a bunch of guys on the offensive line like Greg Van Roten and Connor McGovern and George Fant and Alex Lewis. And overpay for George Fant because you think he's got big-time starting potential on the offensive line. Now, you could say, based off of the schlubs they had on the offensive line in 2019, the Jets' offensive line will be improved in 2020. Fair statement. But what does that really tell you? What the hell does that really mean? And then when you look at all of this, you would think the name of the game is you want to find a few stars. And we actually luck into finding a star. You'd think you'd actually want to keep them, retain them, make them the face of your franchise. Build around them. Not the Jets. Jamal Adams doesn't want to play there anymore because he doesn't want to play under Adam Gase, and who the hell could blame him? So he wants a trade, and ultimately the Jets oblige. And while Jets fans could be excited about, hey, we turned a safety into 2 first-round picks, You also got to realize your organization is really stupid. Really, really stupid. So why in the hell do those draft picks matter when you know more likely than not, especially because it's the Jets, Jets, that those picks are going to absolutely suck? Right? Tell me I'm off the mark here. You're trying to help out your young... It'd have been one thing if you had heard that the Jets made this trade and they said they sent Jamal Adams to Seattle and they got McDougal and DK Metcalf in return. Then you're like, okay, you got a lesser level safety to replace Adams, but you're hoping you get the upgrade at the wide receiver position in Metcalf. Like if you were... Now, I know the Seahawks wouldn't have done that deal, but probably the Jets wouldn't have been smart enough to ask anyways. But nonetheless, point being is I can at least see if they traded Jamal Adams to get some immediate offensive help. And they didn't do that. They traded him for future draft picks that may not potentially matter anyways. Why? Again, because this is the Jets. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So now you're going into year 2 of Adam Gase as the head coach. Year 3 of Sam Darnold. No Jamal Adams. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. You can find a way to overcome that. You can find a way to turn it around. When you look at their draft, they're going to have to get contributions and big ones out of Becton. You're going to be putting out there protecting Darnold's blind side. He's going to have to play at a high level right away. Denzel Mims, the wide receiver that they drafted in round 2, I think as I'm recording this, there's already concerns that he has a hamstring injury or both hamstrings are hurt, so he might not play in week 1. That's kind of the Jets' luck, isn't it? Draft a guy with some skill at the wide receiver position in round 2, and then he's not going to play. Probably hoping to get some things out of Ashton Davis, the safety they took out of Cal in the 3rd round, and they're going to need to. Let's be realistic here. We're talking about the Jets. If there's reasons for optimism, what are they? That they won 3 of their last 4 games in 2019? That they did all of that in spite of the fact that it was a bit of a clusterfuck and a mess and a half for that team last year? Maybe. The improved offensive line is going to help Le'Veon Bell and Sam Darnold. Hey, Le'Veon Bell might average 3.8 yards per carry this year. What are the real reasons for optimism here? You could also say, well, with Brady out of the division now, it opens things up, and in theory, it certainly does. But why would the Jets be positioned to take advantage of that at all? You look at that whack-ass receiving core. That's one. Where's the pass rush going to come from outside of Jordan Jenkins? They don't have one. And then you got Adam Gase. That's not a minimal handicap. That is a sizable, significant handicap. Jets fans that actually clicked on this, all 30 of you, probably won't like that I'm bad-mouthing your team, but a lot of what I'm saying is not off the mark. A lot of what I'm saying is true. A lot of it you probably agree with. Or you're right along with me and you're like, damn, Skippy, tell the truth, bro. I don't know, and I don't care. I calls them as I see them. If I look at this division, the Patriots still have Belichick. That's got to account for something. The Bills look pretty good on paper, and that was a team that made the playoffs last year. And you would have to assume that the Dolphins, who were supposed to tank and be a threat to go 0-16 and ended up winning 5 games last year, spent some money in free agency, had a bunch of draft pick capital. You'd have to assume that they're probably going to be better. Why in the hell would I pick the Jets to finish anything other than in the rear in the AFC East? Why? Why? Now they have a better than expected season. Maybe they can finish 3rd. Something to hang your hat on. But the best, I don't even know if this is the best possible scenario. This is the ultimate, oh crap, type of season for Jets fans. Because if your team bombs, that means you get to showcase the door after 2 years. And you're like, okay, good. You can move on from that mistake. Sounds like a good idea in theory. But then you also realize that now you'll be looking for a new head coach. You no longer have Jamal Adams. And oh, by the way, because your team is completely busted out and played like crap, that also means that Sam Darnold probably did the same. And you found out for sure he's not the guy. And then you're starting all the way the hell over again. And you're just being the Jets again. And I know what you're thinking. Hey. The same thing. Like, the Chiefs did it after 50 years. Yeah. They took them 50 years, but they got to the Super Bowl. If they're 52, the Jets can too. Yeah. Except the Chiefs had an elite quarterback, bunch of skilled players that are worth something, that are explosive, can make big plays. You had some impact players on the defense, Hall of Fame level head coach. All of those things that the Chiefs have none of. I'll be generous to the Jets. I'll give them 6 wins. Because they would be just good enough to not be bad enough to get themselves into the draft position to really be power players next year, even with the multiple first-round picks. This team stinks. This organization is a joke, and you know it.